Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite as well as WWE NXT for June the 17th, 2020. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership. Let's go ahead and get started with AEW. We are on the road to Fyter Fest, a 2-week AEW Dynamite extravaganza. We had our opening video, our pyro, and then we kicked it off with a tag team match. The tag team champions, Adam Page and Kenny Omega, against the Natural Nightmares. Nightmares had no intro for this opening match. They did have a good showing against Omega and Page. Allie even came out to watch. I thought she was barred from ringside, but maybe that will be a further development in the storyline. Omega and Page did pick up the win with the V-Trigger Buckshot Lariat combo, pinning QT Marshall to build up their momentum for their upcoming title defense at Fyter Fest. We had a women's division match with two women that have not been seen all that much in AEW. We had Anna Jay with a short video package referring to herself as the star of the show. She had a match with this character who appeared on AEW Dark first time on Dynamite, called Abaddon. Basically, she was like a female boogeyman, if I could describe her. She crawled to the ring. She had this creepy makeup on. Reminded me of one of those scare actors at a Halloween haunt that would come out and attack you when you're walking through one of those dark mazes. Abaddon picked up the victory in a fairly quick match. And then post-match, we had the Dark Order arrive. Evil Uno is back. He gave an envelope to Colt Cabana, and then the Dark Order helped Anna Jay to the back. Not much of a role here for Brody Lee on this show. He's almost getting, shall I say, lost in the shuffle. We'll see what happens with this, but now we got Brody Lee teaming up with Colt Cabana on next week's show. TJS with the $2 super chat says, Brian Cage and Taz a knockoff of Heyman and Lesnar? Watching later. Well, there was a promo, and I'll go ahead and skip to that real quick. There was a little promo between Taz and Brian Cage. They were out in the parking lot at the overpass. I guess that's the location to go now for these promos. I think we had a few weeks ago Jake Roberts and Lance Archer there. FTR did their entrance under the overpass, and now we got these two, Taz and Brian Cage, cutting a promo under this freeway overpass. They cut a promo on Moxley to hype up the Fyter Fest pay-per-view. We had MJF one-on-one with Billy, and like the situation with Cody Rhodes, Billy Gunn cannot be called Billy Gunn on AEW because WWE is claiming ownership of the trademark, so he's just Billy. Billy with his sons, and they could be referred to as Gunn, but not Billy. So anyways, MJF tried to escape early on in the match. Billy went after MJF and brought him back to the ring, carried him back. Wardlow interfered when the referee was distracted by Billy's son. Wardlow slammed Billy's leg into the ring post, and even with an injured leg, Billy still managed to hit the Fameasser. Wardlow then got on the apron, interfering again. Billy punched Wardlow. Stupid babyface alert. Why even bother with the guy? Billy punched him off the apron, and then Wardlow managed to throw the Dynamite diamond ring into the ring. MJF grabbed it, of course, used it on Billy to pin him 1, 2, 3. And then post-match, we had Jungle Boy at ringside have a verbal confrontation with MJF. This led to a big brawl between the Jurassic Express and MJF and Wardlow. Wrestlers were there to break it up. And then it was announced on next week's show, it will be a one-on-one match between Wardlow and Luchasaurus. I'm just wondering, when is Luchasaurus going to be taken to the next level? I've been thinking that this guy had some real potential, and AEW is not doing a whole lot with him. So I'm hoping next week we'll get a chance to see Luchasaurus do something really cool. Get terminated by DQ. Guess he changed his username. With a $5 super chat says, did you laugh when MJF did the Fargo strut when Billy stared at him for 30 seconds? I thought it was the moment of the night. Don't hate me for this, Ken, but I actually already forgot about that. So, yeah, I remember it now that you bring it up, but it wasn't something that really stuck out to me at the time. So, my apologies on that. We had Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara cut a promo backstage, and they said that they're not just best friends because they got an upcoming match with best friends. They are blood brothers. And just like the blood that comes out of Orange Cassidy, blood is thicker than orange juice. We had Tony Schiavone talking with Britt Baker, but she was really not amused by Schiavone, and she wanted her driver to take her away. Of course, she was sitting on her role model Rolls Royce, and as it turns out, Big Swole was the driver, and we had a little bit of a throwback to the Attitude Era with Big Swole saying, "Where to, doctor?" Just like Undertaker said, "Where to, Stephanie?" to Stephanie. And she drove off very quickly, and the big mystery for the next hour of the show was what happened to Britt Baker. We'll get to that here in a few moments. We had Cody Rhodes interviewed. Well, he wasn't interviewed really. He just came to the ring, cut a promo, hyping up his open challenge for the TNT Championship. Arn Anderson cut a little bit of a promo, talked about how he knows Cody could beat Jake Hager, and he has an opponent picked out for Cody that is more than qualified to challenge for the TNT Championship. And this led to Ricky Starks from the NWA coming out. For those of you that have watched NWA Power over the past several months, you know who Ricky Starks is. Young up-and-comer in the wrestling world. There was a little video package for him. Talked about having grit and work ethic. What's up with all these guys having grit all of a sudden? I feel like ever since Edge started saying it, now all these other wrestlers are talking about having grit. Edge is still a very influential superstar after all this time, I have to say. So anyways, these guys had pretty much exactly the match you would expect. Good match with these guys. Cody making the young guy look good. Yada, yada, yada. It was fine. I have to be honest, though. Like, if you're going to bring in somebody from NWA Power, Ricky Starks would not be my top choice. I'd rather see somebody like an Eli Drake come in. Like, he would probably be my top pick. Eli Drake should be in WWE or AEW for sure. Like, I think he deserves to be at a higher level than NWA. Just my opinion. Cody won the match with the Crossroads after they had a bunch of near falls, and then Cody gave him the handshake. This is all fine. It's kind of just all right for me, like predictable. And I don't think anybody really expected Ricky Starks to beat Cody. It's pretty much like John Cena U.S. title open challenge, just, not as much star power, with all due respect to Cody. We had, by the way, Jake Hager was watching backstage. So Cody's winning and going on to face Hager at Fyter Fest. So kind of lacking the drama, in my opinion. But again, it's fine. I get what they're trying to do. It's all right. We had the Super Bad Squad against the Young Bucks. Butcher and Blade were at ringside, and they exchanged words with the Bucks, and then they came over the barricade. They got on the apron, and as they were interfering, referee was distracted. Jimmy Havoc came in with one of those bathroom signs, the caution wet floor sign, used it as a weapon. FTR then came out, and Penelope Ford interfered using that wet floor sign again when the referee was distracted. Then the Young Bucks made their comeback, and they ended up kicking Sabian. Sabian was holding Jimmy Havoc, and the Bucks kicked Sabian in the legs, and that led to him pile driving his own tag team partner. I actually thought this was a really cool finish with that, and then the Bucks hit the double knees to pin Sabian. I thought this was cute. And then after the match, we had FTR come out, brawl with Butcher and Blade some more, and the baby faces ended up taking control. Super kicks, Goodnight Express, and then the Bucks and FTR did dueling spike pile drivers onto the bad guys. Good stuff here. A little bit over the top with all the interfering and teams running around, but it was fun for what it was. And then we had Britt Baker discovered outside by her assistant in the dumpster, and Britt fired her assistant and then rehired her. Cut a promo on Big Swole saying that she will pay for what she did. We had our main event match, which was Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara against the Best Friends. Matt Hardy came out there on commentary. He'll be facing Sammy Guevara on next week's show. Chris Jericho used the baseball bat on Trent when the referee was distracted. Lots of this going on this show. Also, we had some of this going on with NXT as well. Chuck Taylor then went for a steel chair, but then got thrown over the barricade. Sammy Guevara used Jericho's bat on Trent when the referee wasn't looking. Hit the shooting star press. Trent kicked out of it. And then Sammy got tripped by the cameraman. This led to Trent pinning Sammy, and then it was revealed that the cameraman was Orange Cassidy, wearing a bandage on his head. He beat the crap out of Chris Jericho, showing a lot of fire, more than we usually see from him. He gave Jericho the Superman punch, and that closed out this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. Show was fine, but at the same time, I feel like there was a lot of filler, mostly just building up to the Fyter Fest show. But if you missed this one, you really did not miss a whole lot. It would probably be towards the bottom of AEW Dynamite episodes. So, I think I would give it like a C+. It was still a good show. But, AEW has set the standard so high, and this show was just kind of there. Wasn't anything that was really meaty in terms of substance, in my opinion. But it was a perfectly fine wrestling show overall. Just not the most exciting show. Moving on here to NXT, we had a recap of last week, and then we had footage of Bayley and Sasha Banks arriving. We then had our first match of the evening, which was for the NXT Tag Team titles. We had Imperium, Ackner, and Barthel against Breezango. Breezango came out doing a spoof of Imperium's entrance. And during this match, we had a bunch of tag teams coming out. What is it with AEW and NXT having similar types of angles on their shows every week? I just feel like it happens more often than not. You know, just like with the tag match on AEW, you got all the teams running out and interfering. You had Indus, Cher coming out, and then Lorcan and Birch attacked them. Fandango rolled up Barthel, but Barthel was not the legal man. Ackner then came in, who was the legal man, hit the DDT and pinned Fandango. Imperium retained the tag team titles. No big shock here. Did not expect Fandango to win the titles by any stretch of the imagination. We had Velveteen Dream interviewed by Tom Phillips. Phillips wanted to know what is next for the Dream. And as Dream was cutting this promo, Dexter Lumis popped up from behind the couch with a picture of the two of them as tag team champions. Dream said, "It's a misunderstanding. All he did last week was return the favor. Dexter Lumis helped him. He helped Dexter Lumis. That's the end of it. Dream is a solo act." So I guess this is going to be the new Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne odd couple team. We'll see if they end up having the same chemistry going for the tag team titles. I'm guessing we'll see that at some point. Dream will eventually team up with Dexter Lumis. We had Damian Priest one-on-one with Killian Dane. Priest picked up the victory with the Reckoning, and then after the match, we had Dane angered about his loss, walking to the back. He smacked the plexiglass, which the impact of that knocked over Robert Stone, who was drunk or just completely out of his mind. I don't know what's going on with him. Still distraught over Chelsea Green leaving him. We then had Xia Li versus Aaliyah, and this is when Robert Stone came out. He's trying to recruit Aaliyah. He got on the apron. Lots of people getting on the apron on both shows. And then he threw up, which is something we are not seeing on a lot of shows. He threw up in the ring, and thanks to that distraction, this is one case where if I was the babyface, I would legitimately be distracted by this. I'd be like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I would just be totally thrown off if this happened. So, of all the dumb baby faces getting distracted, this one I can understand. Aaliyah rolled up Xia Li to pick up the victory, and then Robert Stone stumbled around some more onto the floor. Poor guy. He is so distraught over what happened to him with Chelsea Green firing him. I'm sure Vince loved this segment if he saw it with the throwing up, because if you got farting or people vomiting or any kind of bodily fluid, Vince McMahon is a huge fan of it. We had a segment with the Undisputed Era. They were providing therapy to Roderick Strong. They got the best doctor in the world to help him out, who turned out to be Kyle O'Reilly, making his first appearance in a while. But the therapy did not work out for Roderick Strong. He ended up running away like Forrest Gump. And Adam Cole was interviewed later on about Karrion Kross, saying it's the same old story. Everybody comes along, says they're going to beat him. Doesn't happen. Keith Lee then appeared, said that it's not going to be Cross that takes the title. It's going to be him. And then we had more Adam Cole, came out after the commercial break, cut this promo, bragged about his championship reign, 381 days and counting, the greatest champion in the business, yada, yada, yada. Said that people have tried to knock him down. They have failed. He brought up Keith Lee, said that, hey, he might as well go for the North American title because he's the guy that put it on the map, and he could have 2 titles. He could be champ, baby. This led to Keith Lee coming out, but before Lee could say anything, Gargano came out, said he only cares about results, and last week he pinned Keith Lee, and it's time for him to have the title reign that he deserves. Said that him and Candice will hold the men and women's championships simultaneously. Keith Lee responded by saying that Gargano cares more about the title than his own wife, bringing up that he helped Candice last week and said that that's the most action she's gotten all year. Gargano was very upset about this, of course, and this led to Finn Balor coming out saying he's never held the North American title, and Gargano responded by saying that Balor is not a Triple Crown winner like he is. Balor then said, doesn't matter. He cuts to the front of the line. He wants a shot at Keith Lee. And then after he beats Keith Lee, he's going to go after Adam Cole, referred to Cole as a transitional champion. Cole was not amused by this, and that's when William Regal appeared on the big screen to set some law and order in NXT. Said that there will be a triple threat match on next week's show between Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, and Finn Balor for the North American Championship. And then the winner will not only be the champion, but go on to face Adam Cole on the July 8th edition of NXT in a champion versus champion winner-take-all match. And this, of course, will be going up head-to-head with Week 2 of AEW Fyter Fest. Should be a big night, July 8th. We had Candice LeRae confronting Keith Lee backstage, getting in his face. She was upset about what he said during that previous segment. Mia Yim appeared, started brawling with Candice. We had a match between Kaden Carter and Dakota Kai. Casey Catanero was out there in Carter's corner, and Raquel Gonzalez was out there in Kai's corner, of course. Raquel ended up taking out Casey, and then Dakota Kai picked up the victory via submission, building up her, I guess, to eventually challenge Io Shirai for the NXT Women's title. We had Scarlett and Karrion Kross backstage investigating the broken hourglass. Clearly not amused by that. That was a nice hourglass. We had a Mercedes Martinez video package, so it looks like she's coming back. She hasn't really been heard from in recent weeks. We had Bronson Reed versus the modern-day Barry Horowitz of NXT, Leon Ruff. Another rough night for Leon. Got beat in a quick squash. And then after the match, Bronson Reed issued a challenge to Karrion Kross for next week. Looks like somebody has a death wish. Bronson Reed, maybe he'll get a good showing, but I suspect it's going to be a rough night for somebody other than Leon Ruff. We had Santos Escobar, formerly Phantasma, come out with his new faction. Said that his father told him to be a leader, not a luchador. And he said he's going to lead his troops, Raul Mendoza And Wilde, he's going to make them leaders, and the three of them are going to have a legacy in NXT. Drake Maverick came out, said that people have always told him he has more guts than brains, and then he got in the ring. He was a man of his word. He got in, went after the team, the trio, but quickly got overwhelmed, and then we had Escobar take Maverick up on the staging area, gave him a phantom driver through a table, although Maverick pretty much just landed flat on the concrete. Pretty brutal bump there. And then Maverick was carried out in an ambulance. We then had our main event for NXT, WWE Women's Tag Team titles, Bayley and Sasha Banks against Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. Blackheart got her submission on Sasha, but then Bayley brought a chair into the ring, and we had Nox grab the chair from Bayley. While the referee was distracted from this, Bayley reversed the submission, so Sasha was able to use the momentum and get the bank statement on Blackheart. Blackheart tapped out, and then after the match, Io Shirai came out, attacked the tag team champions, sent them both out of the ring, held up her championship to stand tall as NXT went off the air. So overall, decent show from NXT, but like AEW, was it the most eventful show? I would probably give it a B-, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but for the first time in a long time, I thought Raw was a better show than AEW and NXT. So I know I'm going to get the hate comments from some people, but I thought Raw was a better show this week. First time in a while. Like, almost never happens. But this week, I thought Raw was a more entertaining show at 3 hours than AEW and NXT. And infamous Christian Ramirez with a $5 super chat says, off topic, but since you mentioned Vince earlier, didn't he use the N-word on Cena in front of Booker T back then? He said it, yeah. Basically, the segment was Vince came up to John Cena and used the N-word, basically, trying to talk like a street thug or something. I don't know what Vince was doing, but it was really dumb, really bad taste for him to do that. It wasn't meant to be hateful. It was trying to be funny, but it was dumb. And then as soon as Vince walked off, Booker T, of course, the reaction, like, tell me he did not just say that. Pretty much no way WWE would do something like that now, but back then, they could get away with it. Marcus Metcalf with a $2 super chat says, Io Shirai versus Sasha, a return of the Sky Pirates. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see Io against Sasha or Bayley in a singles match anytime soon. I think we're going to probably see Io versus Dakota Kai as the next big match in NXT. And then I could see Rhea Ripley getting back into the mix. Ken terminated by DQ. Maybe Dairy Queen, maybe no DQ. I'm not sure. Says, Aaron riffed with the controversial line of 2020. Which was what? What are you saying is a controversial line from me? Michael Wayne gives NXT a B and AEW a C+, by the way. And trying to see some of the other letter grades here. If you guys want to leave your letter grades for the shows, go ahead. DJW with the $2 super chat says, Brian Cage versus Wardlow is money. Well, I do like Wardlow, but we really haven't seen much of him other than that one match with Cody, the cage match, other than him just being a bodyguard. And honestly, I'd rather see Luchasaurus pick up the victory, especially with Cage being a heel. You could put Cage against Luchasaurus. Problem with Wardlow is I think Cage stands out more as a monster, and Luchasaurus, for that matter, stands out more. So I really need to see more out of Wardlow. I think if AEW was going to push Wardlow as a singles act and not as a sidekick bodyguard type guy, like have him go out there and win some squash matches. But AEW hasn't really done that with him. And they really haven't done much with Luchasaurus either. Like, I want to see Luchasaurus on TV every week beating the crap out of people. Like, build him up. Like, make him an enigma, like a Goldberg, you know? Do something with the guy. Like, I feel he's almost the third guy in the group. Like, you know, Marko Stunt gets TV time being the punching bag, and AEW's trying to build up Jungle Boy, trying to give him the rub off of Jericho and Cody. Like, do something with the guy. And DJW, he actually left that super chat twice, so thank you for that. He left 3 of them, actually, saying, he said, Cage versus Brody Lee is money, LOL. Yeah, that would be an interesting match if Brody Lee wasn't already a heel. And, you know, Lance Archer. AEW has some big guys that they could do stuff with, but I feel like a lot of them are getting lost in the shuffle already. Like Brody Lee almost taking a backseat to Evil Uno now, who's back. And, you know, there's this storyline with Colt Cabana, which is good for Colt. Glad he's getting a storyline, but, you know, Brody Lee, fresh off of WWE, you would think he would be in a more serious feud, but whatever. But anyways, I'm hoping we'll see some big happenings in the coming weeks. You know, I felt like this week was more of a build from both brands leading into the shows over the next several weeks. Next week should be a pretty big NXT. And then, of course, we got Fyter Fest coming up on the 1st and the 8th. And then that big NXT on the 8th should be an interesting night, to say the least. Maybe we'll see those numbers start to go up. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow night is episode 100 of the No DQ review. Please tune in, tell a friend, spread the word. Going to be a fun night. I'm sure we'll be talking about AEW, NXT. Send in your topics, any topic ideas you have. Send them to us. Send them to Virtue. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And we hope to see you guys in the chat room tomorrow night. Thank you all. Be safe. Stay positive. And I will see you guys next time.